Hello, all you beautiful thinkers and wanderers. Welcome to Think Out Loud with me. I'm Natalie P., and if life has taught me anything, curiosity saves lives, and the best conversations are the ones we don't script. Life's a big, beautiful, messy learning opportunity, and here in my space, well, we let the inside voices out so others can hear, relate, and create with new purpose. This is a space for questions, connection, and those deep, real human conversations that crack open new perspectives. So grab a seat, open your mind and your heart, and let's think out loud together. All right, we're live. I'm setting us up. I hope that wasn't all live while I was doing that. Who knows? While we're going live, and I'm clicking around and moving screens, I want to invite everybody in. What am I, 2:20? Oh dear, there must have been like so many people waiting, going live on Facebook. Today's conversation I'm super excited about because yeah, it just has a lot to do with what I'm up to lately. And so just happy to be here live on Facebook with new friends and collaborators, Ian and Fallon. I want to, welcome you all in. Today's conversation is we're going to explore this very real intersection of sound and science and personal transformation. And Ian and Fallon have dedicated their work in both like individual ways and together combined ways to just research and learn and then teach and turn knowledge around and give back with it to serve the world. And y'all are making this work accessible, practical, and rooted in, evidence, but also just some yummy spirit, like, which is what I believe brought us together. Spirit being that, right? That universal force, that chi, that lovey-dovey stuff that's buzzing through the universe, and that somehow put the two of you gorgeous humans in my path. And so welcome to my room. I'd love to think out loud with you, and there may be some folks that'll listen in. If they don't, they'll catch it on replay, because guess what? This is a live episode of Think Out Loud with me. Say hi to everybody. I'm going to hush for a second.
Yeah.
We appreciate being in your room. I haven't had it put that way before, but I love it. Yeah, thanks for having us.
My little digital room. I always do people's.
Yeah, with your nice lamp in the back.
Alabaster
I turned it on. Yeah, just for you. I don't realize what people can and can't see in the background as I'm dinking around being a circus girl over here and doing cartwheels and whatnot. And so thanks for recognizing the lamp. That lamp and I go back a long ways. So will you two just take a minute and set some stage here, kind of as a duo, a bio? I want like an individual, who's who, but also just set the stage here for who you are. I'd rather you two, bring yourselves into the room on your terms, and it'll be pretty obvious why I am geeking out on working with you. So whoever would love to take the mic or sing a song or get out an instrument.
But I'll start us off. I'm Fallon Morningstar. I am a functional health practitioner. Originally, I do have a business background, environmental engineering background, insurance. So there's such a broad range of things that I have gone down the rabbit hole, seeing if it resonates with me, and then shifting gears another way. And so I landed on the functional health route and just holistic health in general, because I had needed it so much because 26 years old, I was dealing with a lot of health symptoms. I had never been diagnosed with anything, but their symptoms were very prominent and they were compounding against each other. And so I went to my family physician, I went to my gynecologist. Neither one saw anything out of range on traditional blood work, didn't really support me in the way of getting better. And so I went the holistic and functional route to get some answers for myself. So I did a food sensitivity test, a hormone profile, and a stool test. So all three of those showed imbalances of what was going on inside. And, mentally, I was like, holy shit, I can now know like something is wrong here, right? I can see it on paper and I'm making that correlation with my symptoms. I have better direction to heal. My nervous system can kind of settle in to say, here it is, right? So went down this rabbit hole for personal experience and getting better, but not just looking at what supplement or pill can I take, right? It's looking at how can I adjust my lifestyle to be more holistic? Because at the time I was involved in like bodybuilding, I'd shift to powerlifting and I do a couple meets there. And so my outside vessel was very much looking great, very fit. And on the inside, I was almost crumbling because, emotions I did not have awareness of how to cope or properly deal with. Meditation was so outside of my realm. I was like, I'm not going to sit here and do this. It's not myself because I'm very much in this masculine frame of I'm working full time, I'm going to grad school, blah, 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 right? It's just go, go, go. Yeah. So the universe brought these messages inside for me to handle. And so the tests were a piece of it to help me uncover those hidden stressors. And then the educational component of, well, why would I shift my lifestyle this way? Why would I eat differently? And giving it a try, a solid try of, removing the gluten, removing the, really reactive foods to my system, stopping training for a little while, all of these things, opening up to meditation, right? Just sitting there for 5 minutes, listening to something guided, that compounded over time to say, this is actually working for me, right? I'm able to have a couple minutes of peace, right? This time is slowing. So I said to myself, I have to get certified in this. At the time, I had already been a personal trainer, but I had never seen a vision to say, how can I, make this into a financial business, right? And so I would say probably about 2.5, maybe 3 years later, this is the full-time gig. It's not in the corporate realm. It is, going through that year-long functional health certification, learning how to read these labs, just gathering information, right? I remember specifically this book I was reading, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And there was such a revelation of a memory that popped up in my past of a traumatic experience. And at that time, I had zero idea of anything in my childhood, right? Nothing was wrong. I wasn't, nothing major happened. But that piece of memory that popped up was, oh, something did happen that you closed off and put a lock and key on. Now it's time to revisit it. And I honestly think it was the universe saying, you're a vessel. Now that you've gone through these gut protocols, now that you've, gotten rid of some inflammation and you can hold your own a little bit better, now I'm going to bring you a piece of information that I know that you can handle. And so then my realm expanded into more meditation, more nervous system regulation. That brought in the somatic exercises. At the time, and I'm passing the torch, this is my transition to, at the time, I was a avid listener of podcasts. And so Ian had been a guest on a podcast, fell in love with the concept of listening to Smile, him as an individual, just the way he is able to tell stories and speak. The heart came out and it was a beautiful episode. And so I had reached out and ended up becoming an affiliate with Listening to Smile. And so my reason for doing that was to expand, be a little bit unique in my own brand, adding the music in to say, hey, I do have licensing, you know, I can use this music legally. I can have it in one-on-one sessions with people, you know, whether we are working on a more of an emotional type of session, right? Or I can have live events. So I facilitated Zoom events that maybe brought in 15-ish people, mainly ladies, of me doing a guided meditation for them, but also having the sound in the background. And it was so cool to see tears come out, to see, oh my gosh, like this happened, or I had this vision. And so um, my work doesn't just focus on, you know, diet or, you know, light exposure, educating about blue light, red light, blah, blah, blah. It dives into the sound, the somatic exercises, because I honestly think a lot of us are out of balance because of our nervous system, first and foremost. Mm-hmm. And so with adding in the music, it's just been such an honestly powerful experience. So that's a little bit about how I started out in this entrepreneurial realm, but also how Ian and I have met. And it's just, the rest is history, right? But it's been a really cool ride so far. So
yeah, that was a beautiful segue and a torch handoff. There. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think it's really powerful to see how analytical and just powerful Fallon is in her mind space, but then to see how in her expressions of those stories to me, sharing that, it was like how those somatic exercises and meditation really opened the heart and kind of slowed her down. And I think that whether you're a male or female, we both have different times in our lives when we have these different expressions of masculine and feminine energy that comes out. And so basically for me, that was just such a amazing thing to witness in her as an individual. And then a lot of the clients we work with, you see just massive changes in people when they start really tackling the shadow, the ego, and trauma. It's like, the physical ailments aside, the shadow, the ego, and the trauma are kind of this stew that is just really, once you start unraveling those tentacles, there's a lot of physical things that start opening up in the body, because I think people don't realize how emotions play such a part of the physical, right? So for me, that was part of my journey getting into this. Was in 2012, I was diagnosed with colon cancer and MS, and I went through just a dark night of the soul trying to tackle that. And I was a musician at the time. I didn't financially have the means to do the treatments and the insurance that they wanted to do things in the clinical sense. And looking back on that time, some parts of me feels like that was a blessing, because it really made me explore holistic options. It really made me get more into food combinations, dietary changes, but also the music and the frequency, being able to create the mind shift that had to take place before I could even be open to these other tools. There had to be blocks mentally that needed to be, curtains that needed to come down to allow this information to come in and actually stick. And so for me, that's what the music was. Like Fallon talked about how meditation was very hard for her. I'm a poet, musician, artist, creative, visionary. My mind's constantly going. It runs 100 miles an hour. So for me, the first time I put the music on my headphones and put it on, I remember tears, just screaming, because I had never felt my mind turn off like that. Like it was something that really, it was like sitting in the quiet of a storm. Like you could still feel the thoughts, but you didn't feel like you had to answer them or felt any kind of guilt or fear or pressure from these thoughts. It was, I see you doing your thing. I'm good. I'm going to sit here and chill. Right. And so for that first experience, I was in my mid 30s. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a lot of your life to go without having peace like that. So for me, that was the, no holds barred. Okay, I'm diving into this full force. And so I started getting into frequency and learning about like Robert Monroe from the Monroe Institute, getting into like Nikola Tesla, and getting into Wilhelm Reich and Royal Raymond Rife, and all of the kind of, godfathers of frequency that we know today. And it just was really something that led me on a path to like Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, all of these, thought leaders, but also like Louise Hay and Carolyn Mez, and just really tremendous female energies as well. And so that was my goal, is when I started healing myself, which took about a year and a half to get fully healed up and to really start working on trauma nutrition. I was about 320 pounds. I lost a huge amount of weight over the next year and a half, 2 years. And so people started seeing it physically. Man, dude, you look really different. What happened? And that's when I was like, it's the frequencies, man. It's like, sounded like a 60s guy, So it's like, I was like, I'm sure I sounded crazy to all of my friends, and a lot of them, I grew up in the church and was in a very strong kind of Christian background. And a lot of my friends who were in the church at that time felt like, well, do you even believe in God anymore? And I'm like, guys, in the beginning, there was the word, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like vibration is all through the Bible. That, this is God. This is God in the vibrational form. It's in everything around us, right? It is the matrix, right? It's the construct that we're living in, that God created for us to have these trials and tribulations and grow our souls, right? That's like what this is. So for me, that was just like a no looking back. And it's something that I dedicated, the last 10 years. I've made an album every single month. So it's like I'm constantly in creation mode. I'm constantly working on and with this music. Fallon and I were trying to put a time on it. And I think we said it's like between 4 to 6 hours every day for the last, 14 years of, working on this music that to that degree. And so it's, even when I find myself, even when there's time off, I'm like, oh, I want to make some more music. I want to get into the frequencies, because I think my body is just so used to having those frequencies played. And Fallon and I both sleep with that music as well. It's something that really helps our sleep patterns to be very deep and to be really restored when we wake up. And it's just different, because when we don't sleep with it, it's like we are awakened much easier, and it's something that, the sleep is much lighter. And so I think that it's just something that's been really powerful for us for the sleep routine as well. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love this image. So as you're building out, both of you are building out these images of just your own lives and then coming together. I'm just picking out little pieces of, like Fallon, you're saying the vessel, which I resonate with, this concept of these sacred vessels that we just, we're aware of and yet so unaware, right? And that the bare essence of these vessels are there for us to love. And gosh, if we can get down to, just down to that beautiful, yummy bit of us, and take care of it and listen to our bodies. And my 16-year-old son, I marvel at how young he is and being in tune with his body. And we talk a lot about it. What's your body saying to you? What's your spirit saying to you? What's your toe saying to you? What, like, all interchangeably, because these vessels all interact. And right. Fast forward through, I'm going to the soup of shadow, ego, and trauma, soupy, sludgy shit that we all share, that somebody somewhere started thinking, what a good marketing tactic would be? Let's get these folks to compare this shit and this soup and watch them eat this up, right? get them to compare their trauma and they'll get so far out in front of themselves they won't realize this, the story will take them and sweep them away, right? They'll get out from their essence. And now this massive pendulum is swinging back, it feels like, and it's saying, I'm imagining Ian, that coming out of that, and hell yeah, people thought you were nuts, you were buzzing with, like, I was having a conversation this morning with potentiality, as Deepak talks about, right?
Yeah.
Like the vast, like the what? I can do what? That's like bananas level stuff that, yeah, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall and watched, yeah, just the coming out of the frequency minded musician that was like and then the two of you coming together, Fallon, you have folks, women and men and all walks in between, not just how we label it. Respect you, the hell out of you, for just how you do your own integrated work. People don't understand functional and holistic medicine. It seems very inaccessible. It seems woo. It seems all this, right? And when we have mouthpieces and folks that can, even in collaboration with each other, can feed off of one another and write stories around, what these services and this yumminess looks like, it helps bring it to folks, right? And that's what we're doing here. And I'm just in deep gratitude for being able to think out loud with you two today. Yeah, it feels like I've known you a lot longer than I actually have.
I'm thinking that too, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's just a good synergistic connection. It's been really great,
Yeah.
to meet you and learn more about your work and who you are and just your personality. I think it's probably why people enjoy your show, the podcast, and working in your community. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. It's taken me a second, that first episode in my basement was all about mental health.
Yeah.
It was
Which
all
is where
that.
the basement tape should lead you, is to the mental health, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I go back to that, and it literally was. I hung up a couple curtains behind myself and thought I was going to do it, in front of the camera, because that's where everybody always told me I needed to do. And I called all my buddies to tell me how to do a podcast, and then you finally are like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it. And I did, and now look at me. Yeah. So let's think out loud. About what music, what sonic, what frequencies actually are. Can we just get down to, let's be a little nerdy about science for a minute and, spend 5, 6, 7, okay, maybe 10, like thinking about, because yeah, we were talking before we came on live about the posts that I've been putting up, collaborations, and when I see frequency. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so that when you were saying trauma, ego, shadow, and I'm thinking of this soup, I'm literally envisioning when I hear sound, I see it, and I see it zapping the soup, and it's I just take it around like my little laser. I'm flying around, and I just have different kinds of ways that I use I'll zap it into my hip and use it as a jackhammer, use it as a massage, What the hell's going on with that? Like,
Yeah.
why does it buzz me like that?
Just one thing I wanted to mention, you might have to name this device because I don't know it, but my mind went to this visual of this mushroom in the ground in nature and it being connected to whatever this device is that shares the
I just met the woman this morning who knows her. I know this woman. I just met this woman. This is my life right now. This is literally how fast things are happening. I just met her. She lives in Italy.
Is this a woman that's doing this practice?
Yeah.
Shit. Okay, yeah. So my mind went to like, you know, I had a conversation with a woman last week and she's into pelvic floor therapy. And so I was trying to explain the concept of vibration and sound and branding with listening to Smile. And she's like, the frequency part is going over my head. Can you explain it in some way different? Because I was like, everything holds its own vibration, its own frequency. And so with you saying the visual of the stew, for some reason, my mind went to this mushroom that's connected to whatever this transmitter is that can emit the mushroom's frequency. So it's just a difference in, because, we can only see certain spectrums of light, right? Obviously, we can only hear certain spectrums. So like this device was able to exemplify the frequency of a mushroom to show it has a frequency, right? And so like for me, I don't know if this would be helpful for the audience to say, well, if you eat that mushroom, you're eating that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And so the quality of the food has a higher frequency impacting your own vessel and your frequency to give you more energy, to give you more vitality, better hormone production, better bowel movements, right? So that can be maybe a visual for the audience to say, this is an example of what frequency can do, but just wanted to interject that before.
I love that.
Yeah, that's cool. I think what's interesting to me is like this is the 13th year, I think, almost 14th. Yeah, it's like 13, 14 years that I've been working specifically with sound. And it's been 10 years of, running, listening to Smile, the business. And in that time, you see a lot of things kind of come and go. But the biggest thing that I see now is where everyone wants to really turn clinical trials or testing to show that sound works. And the reason I think it's interesting is that a majority of the stuff that we're going to try to show them, no one really has a clue about. It's not something that they think about. And I think most of us, if you think about it, are selfish, like which we have to be, right? You have to take care of yourself first, then you can have the energy to overflow to your friends, family, and people around you. But I think the real question is, how does this work for me? Like, why is this going to be beneficial for me if I take the time to explore this? Like, what is it going to do? And in layman's terms, what I try, because a lot of clinical testing, in my opinion, is not correct. It's all, the money, where the money goes, that it's the attention flows, right? It's going to give you whatever you're paying for. They're going to tell you, why not? If I'm paying $150,000 for a trial, if you don't say what I want you to say, I'm not going to do any more testing with you, and you're not going to be with me anymore, right? So I think we're in a hard place where money really does dictate things, and it's challenging because if we were really wanting to learn, like, does this sound have an effect on the physical body? We know music therapy has an effect on the mind and the spirit, but as far as direct frequency to a direct output of, something that we're going after, like a target focus, right? So like autism, anxiety, pain relief, these types of things. And so what I'm trying to convey to people in the work of listening to Smile is the root of all disease, the root of every problem that's going to be coming through is starting with stress. And so we know that stress eats away at the body penny by penny by penny until it has created an issue or a problem. And that can be a stress of environmental toxins. That can be a stress of emotional, states of the individuals, the work environments. But it can also be the the stress and strain of the modern life, the worry, the fear, the anxiety. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not making enough money. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not tall enough, whatever, right? And so that takes a toll over time. So what we're showing our clients is it's this simple. You are targeting stress in the nervous system to create space and pause from the modern world and to tune into yourself. And when you start having conversations with yourself in that way, your world is going to change. I don't care who you are. I don't care what the clinical studies are. Most of us do not take the time to pause. Most of us do not take the time for internal conversation. Most of us are not talking to our bodies like it's a living entity that's letting us rent this space, because it is, right? And so that right there is layman terms. That's why sound works. Sound is helping the body to relax so that you can connect with that heart space in a very emotional, almost Bluetooth and Wi-Fi way, where you're really getting in touch and you're really just hot wiring direct into source. And then, from there, creating a consistency of that practice is what is going to help you heal. Because I can tell you from experience, it doesn't matter what you eat. It doesn't matter what medicine you're taking. If your mindset and your mind and your body are not in tune and not in the agreement of we are ready to heal, it doesn't matter what you're eating, what medicine you're taking. So when I'm working with clients, this is the first and foremost thing that we're really targeting, is realizing how powerful sleep and rest are, how powerful mindset is, like the affirmations, the positivity, and then learning how to look at food as medicine and combinations of herbs that God and Creator has made for us to use, and putting all of these multifacets together. And this music is being created by us with the intentionality of having a soundtrack for wellness and healing, right? So that's why we trademarked frequency-minded music, was to set ourselves apart from entertainment-based music and really get people in the agreement and in alignment with, I am listening to a soundtrack for my wellness and my healing journey.
Nice work.
Wanted to add something. That was a torch.
I thought that was a knuckle bump.
He thought it was nuts. Yeah. But I wanted to give a personal example. Like if I am in the basement of the house, because it's very grounding, obviously it's below level. I have my headphones on and I remember listening to the Heart Music album. And that was one of my most recent favorite albums that came out. It was in this last February. And I listened to the entire thing through, and probably within the first 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, it's still these octopus thoughts would surround me, almost. But as I continued listening, I don't know how long the album was, maybe like 45 minutes or so. I could feel what Ian just described, the space between my thoughts and where I'm seated. My awareness was able to change. It was almost like I was in this aerial image looking down on myself, because I could think differently. I could, picture myself last week or how far I've come since then. And so that is what the music does. It allows you to settle in, observe yourself in a different capacity. It allows you to connect inward so you can choose better for yourself, right? It's almost like this reconnection with yourself. Even time and time again, I've gone through changes with my thyroid, whether that be not emotionally expressing myself, that was a pattern when I was younger, but also like, the use of the birth control pill and how that's, increasing the prevalence of hypothyroidism. So there's like a physical aspect there too. But every time I feel tightness or sensation in this area, sometimes I notice my mind going into the old story of, oh my gosh, there's something wrong, blah, blah, blah. But with Ian, again, mentioning the mindset of things and trying to shift it, all I do is focus my attention on this gland and say, I am healing now, putting like just great vibration. I might put a little Reiki, a little light on my throat center. And honestly, the harsh sensation goes away. It's just about recognizing this message of your system and changing the mindset again and again. It's interesting because I remember, both of us getting like disgusted sometime. Oh my gosh, I still didn't get the hang of it. My mind's still going into that pattern. And it's almost like I believe that each of us need to have the patience and the consistency to continue to rewrite the story, solidifying the new. And the sound is a perfect vessel to help you get there a little bit quicker, maybe more gently, I would say.
Yeah, I love this. I think one of the bigger ahas I had in my own kind of journey was the subject object relationship aha. And it because I'd had this way of talking to folks that might be on my team. I would say, let's just go up a couple floors to the mezzanine level and look down, right?
Yeah.
Like, come up here. Let's go. Come on. Just take a break. Come up a couple floors. And it was a way of connecting with folks that I didn't really even know how to do with myself until I did know. Because that conversation with self, back to just basic self-awareness, and yeah, the essence of who am I, right? And peeling that puppy back. No, folks, it's a big topic, and it requires us to slow down in a world that is dialed up to make us compete. I wrote a chapter in a collaboration that came out a few months ago, and I called it Blessings for My Womb Space. And it was a realization that I had that over the span of my lifetime, I had never, I didn't take care of my womb space. I was doing the best I could. I didn't know how to, all the things. But to be able to journey back to and through, like you said, Fallon, through these pieces and be able to revisit and reclaim, even lay down beside myself in certain situations and say the things I wish I had said, that, just go ahead and make closures and all of that, right? And pulling that forward through the years, through my father's death and then cancer, and then like insert an abortion, like all these buzzwords of just infractions, mindless sex, just not taking care of my body, not giving a shit, not loving myself, drinking right? And then finally connecting all of this, yes, physical womb space, this vessel, right? But also this spiritual vessel and this emotional vessel that I have that it needed to be blessed. Yeah, it needed some time and energy and some love. And in writing that whole thing, the whole story dropped in through a different kind of journey, but that had music involved in it. I made her, I'm just realizing she had the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth way over yonder. I said, can we put it right here on the headboard? So that I'm just like, so that it's dumping on me, the sound, right? I haven't thought about that till just now, but my point in this is that on the heels of that chapter, I had, of course, we all have conversations like, oh my gosh, this, that, and the other. And I had a conversation like, well, I don't know about all that, the womb space, of today has anything to do with the womb space of then. I don't know about all that. And I was like, well, I do.
Yeah, let me tell you something.
I do. I know that's what it all was.
Mm.
I know exactly what it was. And that subject object conversation with myself that I was finally able to have. Yeah, it really helped me. And I believe now, just tapping into, in my own little journey with sound and being witness down in, Teotihuacan to just fantastic ceremony and breath work, and um, for it to all kind of culminate in this conversation, and knowing that I'm gonna, embark on a little bit of an adventure with the two of you, just makes me really fucking excited. Because yeah, it's exactly where we all are supposed to be, right? Just in the soup, but in these cute little boats, like with the boom box in the back, and right. I got the charcuterie board.
I'm twirling like this umbrella to like not, wipe the shit away. Like you can't hit us in our boat.
That and UV rays. Thank you very much. I just had a little spot removed from my back.
And we're like paddling to the last thing I'll say, paddling to the beams of light that is red light, so we can just like.
This is your next album cover.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, like, there's a bunch of people out there that think none of this works, and that this is all, woo-woo nonsense, and we can talk about the science of it. And it feels like that's a lot of the case, right? Like, it's here, it's black and white, but no, you don't want to believe it. Like, when you run into folks that think you're full of shit, Ian. Let me just say it.
Yeah.
Falyn, you're full of shit.
Yeah, they haven't said that, but they've said it,
Yeah, we've run into people that
because people sling that left, and goodness gracious.
Yeah. Well, I think like when you're challenging people's belief systems, it can be really tricky, because people can get very, really agitated and upset and frustrated when you challenge a core belief, that they have, which is everything's shit, it's never going to be good. And when you're dealing with that, it's challenging for people. And so I think, like, when you introduce a new idea, again, I think it's really good to come from a place as best you can. How is this going to serve them, and why is it worth their investment, right? So it's just sales when it comes down to it. It's like, how are you serving this to the people that you're working with? And so I think for me, yes, it is, the beginning is we're dealing with nervous system and helping to alleviate stress. And then as you're going deeper, you can start talking to people. Like, take the breath, for example. There's breathing to survive and live, which is keeping you alive. But when you introduce consciousness and intention to that breath, it's going on a much deeper level, because you're being more conscious, you're getting a deeper breath, deeper intake. And then if you're doing it correctly in the nervous system regulation, you're going to have a longer exhale, right? And so when you're doing this, you have to be conscious. You're counting, or you're thinking about the process. But then when you get past the beginner level, you go into the intentionality of, why am I doing this? So these exercises, the chemical change that starts happening in your body on a scientific level is you're creating more oxygen intake for the body, which is increasing circulation, which is increasing more optimized functionality of all your organs.
Right, stimulating the vagus nerve.
Right. And so when you start talking to a person like this, and you slow it down like this, right? It's kind of like an exploded parts diagram, right? You're taking something that looks very simple and minute, and you're exploding apart all the different gears, and you're showing them, this is what happens. And so then when someone listens to that, most logical people are like, I get that. That makes sense. That, I'm not taking pause. I'm not breathing deeply. I'm not giving myself a minute to reflect. And all of this makes sense. The oxygen, the circulation, the optimization, all that makes sense. And so, we're like, okay, so this is breath, right? Now let's focus just on mindset, and let's focus on what the sound is doing. So people dispute 80 to 90% water. our bodies. And so you look at cymatics, which is the study of sound visualized, and everyone's seen this on the internet with sound going through a plate of sand or sound going through a bowl of water, and the formation structures that take place. And so I say, this is what's taking place in your body on a cellular level. There is, and so we've seen it firsthand. Like in Austin, we did a blood test. We did a meditation where people did a baseline blood test before the meditation. Then we did an hour-long meditation and took blood after the meditation. And the readings were vastly different for each person. There was more clumping of the blood and just more congestion. And then we started seeing people that were not showing parasites in the first sample of blood. And then you're seeing heavy metals that are coming out of tissues and cells, and you're seeing parasites that are even being released. And so some people say, man, this is really scary. And I'm like, no, the doctor that we were working with at the time, he was like, this is so exciting, because if I'm working on a detox protocol and I start using your music for an hour a day for 2 weeks, this is probably going to expedite this project, this detox project that we're taking on. It's going to happen quicker. And he said that sometimes just using herbs and some of the things that we're using in our detox protocols, it takes weeks to get things to come out into the circulation where you can pass it and get rid of it out of the body. And also when you pull them out from the tissues and cells, you have a better time of targeting them to, have the herbs and combinations that they're using on these detox protocols to work. So the vibration is actually physically moving stagnant energy in the body. And so when you start pairing that with an intention and mindset shift, you start pairing that with better foods, whole foods, things that are feeding the body.
Compound effect.
Yes, the compound effect.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
No, you're good.
Okay. So basically just very basic ways that people can understand. And I think that a lot of times people in this field try to overtalk, and oversell what this is doing. It's so simple, it's so minute, and it just takes you being consistent and trying it. People will say, how do I know this works? I said, try it. Let's see it. And I said, we're in the age of, intuition. We're coming into an age where all of the responsibility has been placed on our doctors and our teachers and our lawyers, and we've given our power away completely. And we're coming into a time where now it's time to take responsibility. You know your body better than any doctor. You know what is taking place. And so if we're honest with ourselves and start getting into these consistent routines and practices of pausing and listening to ourselves, we start to know ourselves better. And through this new relationship with your body, mind, and heart and soul, you're basically able to ask within, when I eat an egg, does it resonate with me or does it not? When I meditate and I'm using this frequency, this specific frequency of 528, does it feel good to me? Is it working for me today? And so that's one of the things that we really like to do, is really kind of leave this invitation for our clients to be in that intuition space where they're starting to really have dialogue with each other, and then to explore. None of this is going to hurt you. There's nothing that's going to be a masculine energy that's overly penetrating you and doing it for you. This is a conscious interaction. It's a very feminine energy. It's inviting you to come in, and it's creative. It's intuitive. It's touch. It's getting you in touch with deep parts of yourself and moving stagnant energy. And it's exactly what the feminine energy does in community, right? It's the exact same thing. So it's something that I think it doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't need to come from a place of pedestal talking down to people. It needs to be, we're on the same lily pad. We got you. We feel we've had this happen to us before. This is some of the things that we've done and saw breakthroughs. Maybe this will work for you too, and that's really the place that we're coming from in this.
Yeah. When you're designing, so frequency-minded music for pets, frequency-minded music for veterans, frequency-minded music, Fallon, as you're really concentrating on the female, the feminine, and all of these, and the male, but like, are you're even flooding in your own intentions into as you're creating these albums, how do you when you're putting something together for a specific audience, what's going down like in the creation process?
Well, the first thing is just it's been such a humbling process to do this. It's like really going into prayer and really asking God to open me to as a conduit, that my shit is not coming through, that it's coming through me, almost as if it's washing over me, not from inside of me. I'm helping to guide by, being a part of the process. But what's really almost all of the music is directly channeled. It happens within 1 to 3 takes. If I mess up a guitar part or a keyboard part or something, I might go back and fix it. But even most of the time, I'm trying to leave everything as is, as it comes through. And it's stuff that I would never recreate multiple times. It's all being channeled through in that moment. So I'm asking to be open and conduit. I'm asking God to help me create music that is for that month, for the album that we're doing, and to give me, guidance on what it is that people are needing in this time to help connect and to help move energy and to feel like a support system. Like for me, when I listen to music, I know I would be dead without music. There's so many points in my life that I don't know if I would have made it through. My soundtrack is why I'm still here, right? So emotional connection is just deep rooted in the beginning of all music. It's been a part of sacred ceremonies. It's been part of birthing and, coming into manhood. It's been, going on journeys spiritually into, different realms, altered states. There's so much that music plays a part in. And even in modern day society, you look at TV and film and commercials and, the whole lot of it, from propaganda to sales to sporting events to healing, right? There's so many things that music is amplifying. And so I think for me, I always want to just connect to the theme of what the album is, what the monthly energy is, and then have God open that up. And like Fallon and I talk about this all the time, there's a lot of music that I create that is not really my favorite music. And I've learned over the last, 12 years to really open up when something comes through, because there's times where I'll put out something that I'm so proud of. I think it's the greatest thing I've ever done. And I'll put it out and crickets, no feedback
It sounds
whatsoever.
like the LinkedIn feed.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll say, hey man, how'd you like that track? And he's like, it's all right, it's okay, And like, but then I'll put out something that I feel not as strong about, and people will be like, this is the greatest song that you've ever done. And so what it really showed me over time was, this is not for me, right? It is me. I'm a part of this, but the things that are coming through are not always for me to like, because the crowd of people and the community of people that we're working with are so vastly different, to the point where I started having conversations with affiliates when they would say, well, I don't like that song. I'm like, but it's not for you, right? There's tons of people in your community that might connect with that song. And I'm asking you, experiment. Do things from the intuitive side of what the frequency is, what the beats per minute is, what type of genre of song it is, and be more conscious of what the intentionality is of your playlist. It's not just, these are my favorite songs, I want to share them with you. Right. It's much deeper than that, right? So it's like, it's getting to a place where we're all starting to open up to this music experience as something more sacred and bigger than just us. And I think that's where the magic really starts happening, because spirit comes and plays in so many different ways in that that opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I've had multiple, it happened to me yesterday where I forget what I'm doing and I'm like, oh, I'm the host. It happened to me yesterday in a workshop. I was like, oh yeah, this is my room.
Actually, I'll say something real quick here. There are albums that come out every month that are part of like the member and affiliate program, and that's what Ian was mentioning with those are really channeled in for the energies of the month using Vedic, Western, and even human design. And then we have the public facing albums for personal use. And that's what I think you're mentioning with the pet therapy, pain relief, anxiety.
Yes, yes.
So those, anybody can purchase those, download them, and listen.
For personal use.
Right. And so, for example, like in my programs working one-on-one with clients, I will add 4 albums into our program, and I might guide them in a direction of, hey, if they're looking for something just peaceful movement, right? I'll kind of pick it towards what the client is, but also just the other day, a client was saying like, I'm looking for something in the lower chakra area. Do you have any suggestions? And so then I told her to listen to a couple of the sample tracks of the chakra tune-up, and then what was the other one?
432.
432 something.
Yeah,
432
songs in 432.
Yeah. So she got back to me. She goes, well, both of them I cried. So honestly, it could be either one. Right. So I'm saying that to share that there are samples of each of the albums, but also like there's a genre of how to guide people, right? Obviously, if they're having anxiety relief. And so that was the intention, for people to be a little bit more clear of that is really what this is for. But we have some people that the pain relief album is their favorite album, and people will use it with their pets, or even if they don't have pain, they will still receive benefit from it. So it is a versatile use, but I think the intention was to really guide people to see like, hey, I might benefit from starting here. And like the titles of the tracks as well go into what hertz they are, or what chakra it is, to set the intention.
Yeah. I love that it can, I mean, I just like to have it on as, whether it just is on, and it's lovely, and it's, man, it depending on what I can choose, I can crank out some poetry, man, like pops out of me. Like, I don't know where that just came from. Poor Ian I don't have Fallon's number. I need Fallon's number by the time we get off. I'll just ping her every time I get a little, I'm so excited over here. I'm like, Ian.
We'll have to have a group message for him.
Yeah.
You guys will be so sick of me by the time. Like that girl we invited. Yeah. That one. Do you remember that one? No, we will. We are going to look back on some big days of just our paths crossing, and we have plans together. And I will, folks will see the 3 of us. And shout out to Aaron, too, just around my local neck of the woods, doing some fun stuff together, putting together an entire certification program for folks that are actually interested in building this into their business. I'm really excited about what's in store for me personally, and just from a place of, you described it, Falyn, where you finally, where you want to pour your heart into, like you make a decision and you're like, okay, this is where I feel the resonating. This is where it resonates. Now, how do I line these things up and put music to it so that it's a perfect symphony of what it's all supposed to be? And this feels a little serendipitous that way. In my little dramatic rollout of the last few months. But I say all that, any last words? I'm going to flirt some stuff in terms of, folks coming back and we'll have an information session on the certification, but any last words as we're coming to a close, around especially just the relevance of this resonance in today's day and age. Why now more than ever? If not now, when? Kind of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because life is really pulling us in so many different directions, I can see a lot of us being like, I can't add another thing, or I can't be conscious and set an intention for this time. And so I just want to say that it's very easy to implement this music when you were just saying it's in the background for you. So like here and there, you'll maybe pick up on it consciously, or, oh shit, I like this jam, or, whatever it is. But your body is still listening. All the cells, they still pick up on these frequencies, right? So although maybe right now you might not have the capacity to always set aside a dedicated 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day to be like, I'm going to write down this intention, I'm going to think about it in my mind, blah, blah, blah. Just start with putting it in the car, listening in the car, or doesn't matter what it is, because your innate, beautiful system is still picking it up. So then you can have the capacity to say, on Wednesday, I felt like I could pay attention for 10 minutes and I had the intention there. So it doesn't always have to be, I just don't have the capacity. I think just hitting the button play can be the quote good enough for now, right? What is the 4 agreements, right? The book.
Yeah.
Like what is your level of percent or whatever I'm talking about.
Your very best. Do your very best.
Yes, do your very best, right? And whatever that is, hitting the play button, that's your best for today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll just say quickly, I had a client, and this is probably 6-7 years ago. She said, when I go outside, I'm hearing more things. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, I can hear the leaves and the wind better. And I can hear more birds. And I'm definitely hearing engines hum like in traffic. And I can hear the airplanes overhead differently. And she's like, are my ears changing? And I just smiled and I said, no, your ear palette, right? So like when you go to a food and you have a multi-course meal, they have these palate cleansers that they'll come to separate the taste palettes of the different courses, right? So that might be wasabi or something, different that kind of cleanses, the palate. But basically, palettes of taste are no different than palettes of listening, right? So like if you're getting up and driving the same way to work, your house has relatively the same types of sounds in the morning, you become, immersed in this monotonous, mundane sound palette.
Almost like numb, like you don't even
your brain's kind of tuning it out because it's the same most of the time. When you start getting into frequency music, where you're getting into brainwave states and binaural beats, and you're getting into pure tones, and you're getting into frequencies that are going 500, 1,000, higher frequencies, what's happening is you're telling your brain and your ears, this music is important to me. These frequencies are important to me. And so it starts pointing out in your everyday life with more consistent use. It starts bringing those to your awareness. So your awareness is shifting, your consciousness is shifting, but your ear palette and what it's starting to tune into is changing. So your hearing range is changing because of the awareness, right? The awareness of what you're listening to is being brought to you now in a different way. So for me, that was just such a powerful tool, because over the next 6 years, 7 years, I've had more and more people come to me saying, like, I'm hearing differently, more things are tuning in, I'm getting more in tune, or, everyone has different words for it. But for me, it just shows that what we're focusing on, whatever input that is, whether, when we're watching the news, we're taking in a lot of negative things. When we're listening to friends that are down and out, we're listening to a lot of complaints and negative things. And it's like, we have to be inspired and encouraged. And I think this music is a soundtrack that is like that good friend that comes into the room when you're depressed and not getting out of bed. And they're like, flip the blinds open. They're like, all right, dude, let's get up. It's time to go. We can't be sitting here all day, right? So when you have this playing constantly in your day, when you're working, when you're taking a shower, when you're getting up and getting your morning routine ready, when you're focusing at work, and it's in the background, that friend is with you that entire time, holding that space for you to remember what vibration you should be at. And when I say should, it just means that you deserve the worthiness to be at that vibration at all times, right? And we're human, and it's okay to have reflections and peaks and valleys, but most of us, I think, would agree that we want to be in a positive state for most of our life, right? So that's what this music is. It takes 20 minutes a day. I mean, that's how we get started, is 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night for the first week. And then by week 2, we try to encourage people 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. And if people are in severe distress, like disease or pain, we've had a lot of success with people listening for 1 hour to 3 hours a day and having really big breakthroughs with everything from nonverbal autism to diabetes, cancer. We've had a lot of people express better sleep, more rest, just having a more nurtured state just from taking those pauses. So it's really powerful, and it's not that hard to get started. Yeah,
it's really not. I have found in my own little implementation, everything you're saying, like I was sitting outside. I can't even speak now. And I was like, wow, I think I can hear all the way to Northern Colorado Regional Airport sitting here. I was like, if I just turn my ear just slightly that way, yep, I can hear the helicopters. That's crazy. And then the other thing that popped in my mind is that I have to be careful about how excited I get, because it scares the shit out of people. I'll do it in the grocery store. I'll just get tickled over something that, and I see it, but not everybody sees it.
yeah.
And not everybody's as tickled as I am with the little vibrations and resonant little things that are happening, and so I just have to keep things to myself. And I realize that I am that crazy Looney Tune. That's why I think I was put on this planet, is to be the crazy lady in the grocery store talking to herself about, did that just buzz you like that? It buzzed me. I like your vibe. As I tell people, and they're just like, thanks. I think your vibe is kind of weird. Your vibe is really friendly. So no, I just thank you both for being here in my room for this live episode. And I'm excited to know both of you, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day and the busyness that is standing up magic like this kind of stuff, because there is a business of this in this crazy 3D world that we live in. We operate in very structured systems. So I know what time is. Thank you. That was a long way to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And if this conversation resonated with anybody listening, people have been popping in and out as I've been visiting with Ian and Falyn. I would invite you to consider an opening, not just, to new ideas, but to new practices that directly impact just your state of being and in the most subtle ways. The work that Ian and Falyn are doing isn't about escaping. It's about tuning in and getting clear, and sound as a foundation for really real tangible change, which I absolutely, And we're going to be continuing this partnership and bringing a lot more conversations and tools to explore. I'm going to throw together an information session on the sound meditation facilitator certification that we're doing in August. And until then, I just want to thank everybody for listening in. Be well, be happy, be loving, be kind, and whatever you do, as I say, please don't let anybody fuck with your flow. I will talk to you all as soon as I can, if not sooner. Thanks for thinking out loud with me.
Thanks for having me.